I was a palace maid released to marry outside the palace. My former mistress, the Empress, once feigned death to escape the imperial palace in a fit of pique and sought refuge in my family's home. She claimed, the splendor and wealth of the palace bore me, the life of commoners holds far more interest. Yet once in my home, she still carried herself like an empress, treating me like a servant, demanding I attend to her every need, eating, drinking, sleeping, and even her bodily functions. She claimed, my death will punish the emperor. Though he rules the realm, he has lost me, his lifelong love. He will grieve every day. Yet the emperor showed no sorrow. Instead, he showered favor solely on the imperial consort. To celebrate her dragon phoenix twins, he granted a general pardon and shared the people's joy. She declared, I'm weary of being empress. I've grown utterly disillusioned with all men in the world. Yet in private, she beamed with joy whenever she saw my husband, while giving me nothing but sour looks. Later, I caught the empress in an affair with my husband. They conspired to poison me. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the very day the empress feigned death to seek refuge with me. She was now ordering me about with an air of superiority, even outside the palace. I remain your mistress. This palace maid's attire is unlucky. Go fetch me a new set of clothes at once. The outer garments must be embroidered with suzhou embroidery, and the undergarments must be silk. When I opened my eyes, Empress Su Jinyun was ordering me about. She tapped her finger impatiently, about to rip off the buttons of the palace maid's dress, this disguise she wore to escape the palace by faking her death. Before tonight, Su Jinyun was still the empress. But after tonight, she would become the late empress. Refusing to bow to the emperor within the palace walls, she provoked his fury, leading him to decree her dethronement. Out of defiance and to preserve her dignity, she faked her own death to escape the palace. Protected by her loyal guards, she scaled the wall into my family's courtyard. In my past life, that guard pressed a blade to my throat. Her Majesty the Empress was once your mistress. Now she's weary of the harem's intrigues. As her former maid, you must tend to her with the finest food and drink. With no choice, I let Su Jinyun into my home. The moment I reincarnated, Su Jinyun had already taken residence within my house. She stood in my bedroom, her head beneath my roof, her feet upon my domain, demanding with righteous indignation, "Goer, what are you standing there for? Prepare hot water for this palace lady. I shall bathe." Goer, the name Su Jinyun bestowed upon me when I served in her palace. During Su Jinyun's fall from favor, opportunistic eunuchs had taunted me as dog girl or dog maiden. The first thing I did after leaving the palace was to change my name. In the dim candlelight, Su Jinyun failed to notice the hatred and murderous intent in my eyes. I picked up a dirty, unwashed coarse cloth garment from the floor and flung it at Su Jinyun's face. "I'm just a commoner, where would I get Su embroidery? If you want silk, go back to the palace and be your empress. And by the way, I have a name now. Shin Xinlan." Su Jinyun's expression changed. She stepped closer, closing in on me. "Didn't I just say? Even outside the palace, I'm still your mistress. Goer, how dare you speak to your mistress like this?" She sneered at me in her imperial concubine's tone. "You've been out of the palace barely 2 years and already forgotten all the palace rules? This is insubordination. Rebellion." "Insubordination? Rebellion?" I snorted derisively, lunging forward to slap Su Jinyun hard across the face. "You're a disgraced empress who faked her death to escape. You're not even as good as commoners. And you dare lecture me about rank and status. Your Highness must be delusional. I'll show you what a master truly is." Gripping her hair, I landed another slap across her right cheek, pointing at her forehead. I snarled, "You're under my roof now. I'm your fucking master. My entire life up to this point had been spent as a servant. At 10, I was sold into the palace by slave traders as the lowest caste servant to scrub latrines. Back then, scrubbing latrines alongside me in the laundry bureau was Zhou Yuzhao, now the immensely favored noble consort Yu. The day Zhou Yuzhao gained favor, I was personally selected by the Empress, Su Jinyun, to serve in the Phoenix Grace Palace. I was filled with gratitude, believing Her Majesty the Empress to be kind, until I overheard her whispering with her confidant. Consort Jing, do you think Jade Consort smells of chamber pots when she attends the Emperor? A lowly chamber pot scrubber climbing onto the imperial bed? The Emperor must be starving, he'll eat anything. Even if someone told me her vile, lowly tricks, I'd never stoop to using them. The lower the servant, the more restlessly they climb upward. Such people are of the basest character. I specifically transferred a palace maid from the laundry bureau to serve Consort Yu, to constantly remind her of her lowly origins as a chamber pot scrubber. Naming that maid goer was to make the noble consort understand, even if such a chamber pot scrubbing slave climbs high, she remains nothing but a dog in the eyes of the noble consort, a mere beast. Their laughter rang loud and clear. Only then did it dawn on me, the moment I entered Fini Palace. The Empress Dowager bestowed my name upon me. She changed my original name, Lanner, to Goer. Go, the character for scraping by. I knew life as a servant in the palace was bitter, so I gave you a lowly name to make you easier to keep alive. I truly believed she meant well. After all, I grew up in the countryside, where elders often named children Go, little dog, for the same reason, to ensure they survived. But that was her true intent. I noticed the Empress enjoyed naming palace maids this way. Another maid by her side, plump and beautiful, was given the name Zhuer. It always sounded like Piglet to me. When she called us, it was always Zhuer, Goer, strung together as if we were mere pigs and dogs under her command. Yet the eunuchs in the palace always received auspicious names from her, Da, Hai, Bao, Quan, all pleasant and blessed-sounding titles. Serving in the Phoenix Grace Palace, I heard the Empress discuss the imperial consort countless times behind her back, her words dripping with superiority and arrogance. Back then, the Empress never imagined that within just 3 years, the lowly slave she dismissed as a chamber pot scrubber would climb to the rank of imperial consort and seize all the Emperor's favor. As the Empress began to fall out of favor, she clung to her self-proclaimed nobility. When misunderstandings arose with the Emperor, she never humbled herself to explain. The Emperor, supreme ruler, would never yield to her. That year, the imperial consort suffered a miscarriage. All evidence pointed to the Empress. To prove her innocence, the Empress sent me to the torture chamber for interrogation. Before entering the chamber, she sat upon her phoenix throne and said to me, Goer, if you survive this ordeal, you shall be this palace's most loyal servant. The tortures in the chamber were vicious and relentless. They pierced both my ears with a long, thin steel needle, tortured until blood poured from my 7 orifices. I never uttered a single word incriminating the Empress. I knew that as a servant in the palace, one must remain loyal to the end. Servants who betray their masters never meet a good end. So I gritted my teeth, preserving my own path of retreat and safeguarding the Empress's innocence. When I emerged from the torture chamber, my life was spared, but one ear was deafened. From then on, the sounds of the outside world reached my ears muffled, as if filtered through a thick wad of cotton. Losing the hearing in my left ear felt like losing half my body. During that time, I could no longer feel the heartbeat in my left chest. At night, I would press my hand over my heart to confirm I was still alive. My unwavering loyalty earned me the position of senior palace maid to the Empress. Yet by then, she had already fallen from the Emperor's favor. He hadn't visited her once in half a year. She withdrew into her chambers, aloof and detached from the world. But the servants of Fini Palace endured the scorn of the entire palace. That winter, as the senior maid, I received no new winter garments. I fell ill twice from the cold before spring finally arrived. 3 years later, at 25, I left the palace. When a senior palace maid leaves the palace, the mistress usually bestows some gifts, both to show favor and to provide silver for her journey. Though I had lost an ear serving the empress, her gift was merely a mimosa flower plucked from a branch. Go, she said. May you find a suitable husband soon after leaving the palace, and may you enjoy a lifetime of bliss together. Gold and silver gifts are trivial matters, mere worldly things. I trust you wouldn't care for a few dozen taels of silver either. She pressed the mimosa blossom into my palm, her face aloof as she waited for my gratitude. In her eyes, finding a man to cherish me mattered more than a few dozen taels to sustain my life. On the way out of the palace, I met Chwaer, who was leaving with me. Chwaer was my age and had served in the consort's palace. As she exited, she carried a sizable wooden box. The consort bestowed upon me 100 taels of gold and 2 acres of land. She said, enough to make a life outside the palace. Her face radiated contentment as she asked me curiously, you served in the Empress's palace, your gifts must have been more generous, right? I tucked the mimosa flower behind my back, crushed it in my palm, and let it scatter. I thought leaving the palace would free me from a life of servitude. But in my first year outside, the emperor's decision to dethrone the empress was already inevitable. To save her dignity and her position, Su Jinyan faked her own death and fled to my home. She claimed to be weary of splendor and wealth, seeking a simple life among commoners in my household. Yet she still carried herself with the air of an empress, commanding me to attend to her every need, from meals to personal care. My own servile nature prevailed then. Out of lingering loyalty to our former master-servant bond, I indulged her every whim. She said her feigned death was punishment for the emperor. Only when I died would he realize he'd lost his lifelong love. She gloated over her scheme, surely when he was intimate with the consort, he'd think of me. He'd call my name while facing her face. It seemed to satisfy her spite. What a delicious way to disgust that vile woman. Zhou Yu Zhao. Yet after her death, the emperor didn't even hold a state funeral. He buried her hastily in the consort's mausoleum. Barely 3 months later, the imperial consort gave birth to twins, a son and a daughter. The emperor proclaimed a general pardon, celebrating with his people, showing no sign that the empress's death had affected him in the slightest. Su Jinyan's heart was utterly broken by the emperor, but she had already faked her death. She could never return to confront him. A concubine faking death to escape was a grave crime of deceiving the sovereign. If she dared to show her face, her fake death would instantly become real. It was at this time that Su Jinyan set her sights on my newlywed husband. Qin Feng and I had been childhood sweethearts. Like me, he had been orphaned young, and we had supported each other through our formative years. He studied medicine and, relying on my palace stipend, opened a medical clinic. After leaving the palace, I used my savings to open a cosmetics shop. Qin Feng and I married as a natural progression. Barring any mishaps, I expected to spend the rest of my life peacefully by his side. During that period, Su Jinyan fell ill from grief. Qin Feng visited daily to take her pulse. She lamented the passing seasons. I have grown cold toward all men in this world. Matters of love and romance only torment the heart. Yet whenever she saw Qin Feng, her face lit up with joy, while she gave me nothing but sour looks. I thought I was overthinking it, until I stumbled upon Qin Feng and Su Jinyan entangled on my newlywed bed. Does the Empress sound this sweet in the Emperor's arms? Keep your voice down, don't let Xinlan hear. Su Jinyan replied, her ears are deaf. She can't hear. Use more strength. Make this Empress feel pleasure. Let's see who's more skilled, the Emperor or you. Cold sweat broke out on my body as I burst in, catching them in the act. They publicly apologized, begging my forgiveness. The next day, they poisoned my water with venom. As the poison took hold, Su Jinyan watched coldly while I convulsed on the floor. Don't blame me for being ruthless. I feared you'd report to the palace and expose my feigned death. I can never return to the palace now. Your husband is a physician, quite useful. Go with your death, your household becomes mine. I struggled to grab Qin Feng's robe, but he kicked my hand away. The Empress is a noble lady, far more refined than you. Any man would choose her. He embraced Su Jinyun, his voice tender with concern. Your Majesty endured much suffering in the palace. I only wish to offer you a peaceful, happy home free from deceit and intrigue. They nestled close, Su Jinyun's smile radiant with sweetness. Yet just as their triumph seemed assured, soldiers kicked open the door. The deposed Empress Su Jinyun faked her death to commit adultery and deceive the sovereign. Seize this adulterous pair and bring them to the palace for trial. Su Jinyun and Qin Feng froze in terror. I lay on the ground, coughing up blood while laughing wildly. The moment you two exchanged glances, I already reported Su Jinyun's fake death to the palace. Qin Feng, enraged and flustered, Xinlan, you're mad. With my last ounce of strength before death, I roared. I may have lived my life as a servant, but I was not born to be trampled upon. Su Jinyun, Empress. I looked at the Empress, her legs already trembling with fear, and grinned at her. We'll meet in the underworld. I died from the poison taking effect. After death, my soul drifted above, witnessing the fate of this adulterous pair. The emperor flew into a rage. Qin Feng was torn apart by 5 horses. Su Jinyun was hanged in the harem. All the concubines were forced to watch her entire execution in death. A warning to others. As Su Jinyun's spirit ascended to heaven, our terrified eyes met. I grinned, then dove through the gale to seize her throat. I would shatter her soul. But in that instant, a white light enveloped me. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn on the very night Su Jinyun feigned death to escape. In my previous life, I was poisoned to death at just 26, only a year after leaving the palace and regaining my freedom. To have thrown myself away by perishing alongside such a person was utterly worthless. This lifetime, I would live well and watch Su Jinyun descend into hell. You insolent wench! How dare you! Su Jinyun's face flushed crimson from my blows. Yet she still argued back, calling me a worthless slut with every breath. She really thought she could get away with it. I slapped her twice more, hard across both cheeks, and barked at her. And one more thing, my name is Xinlan. Dare call me Goer again, and I'll whip your mouth to a pulp. I'll whip you until you remember. Got it? Dare you show me disrespect? Ah. Su Jinyun's words were cut off by my slap. Every time she defied me, I struck her without mercy. At first, the noble empress still stubbornly called me Goer, insisting that once a slave, always a lowly creature. But after I slapped her cheeks until they swelled, she finally cried out in a trembling voice. Stop hitting me! Xinlan, you're Xinlan. I remember. I remember. Just then, Qin Feng burst in. He wrenched my hand away and shielded Su Jinyun behind him. I heard the commotion from outside. Have you lost your mind? She's the Empress. A noble woman. Qin Feng's words jolted me back to reality. From the moment Su Jinyun stepped through my door, I'd been forced into complicity in her scheme to fake her death and escape the palace. If the truth came out, the crime of deceiving the emperor would mean death for me too. I had to find a way to completely extricate myself from this affair. I put on a friendly face. I was only kindly reminding your majesty earlier. This isn't the palace. Demanding silk brocades and satin at my place. Putting on your empress airs. If someone with ulterior motives overheard, it would only expose your whereabouts. Kind reminder? Su Jinyun pointed at her swollen cheek. You beat me like this and call it kindness? If I hadn't struck you, how would your majesty learn your lesson? I leisurely brewed a pot of tea and offered it to her. The empress is dead. Who is this your majesty you speak of? If others heard you say that, would they even need to guess you're the empress? Su Jinyun gritted her teeth. She knew she was in the wrong. Calling herself this palace was merely to flaunt her sense of superiority. Though she'd stormed out of the palace in a huff, her heart still remained there, ruling as the high and mighty sovereign. Qin Feng also found my words reasonable, so he took the teacup from my hand for Su Jinyun. Your majesty, please calm your anger. Xinlan truly acted with the greater good in mind. Su Jinyun took the tea, shot me a glare, then downed it in one angry gulp before storming out. Qin Feng immediately started to follow, but paused at the doorway to offer me an explanation. My lady, the empress's face is badly injured. I'll go prepare some medicine for her. I smiled and nodded. Once he left, my expression turned icy. I should have seen it sooner. Qin Feng harbored personal feelings for Su Jinyun from the moment they first met. Later, upon learning of her neglect and disfavor in the palace, his affection for her blossomed uncontrollably. If I didn't act now, I'd face the same fate as in my past life, betrayed by Qin Feng and Su Jinyun working together. That very night, I wrote a letter and sent it by carrier pigeon to the palace. Having resided in the palace for over a decade, I cultivated connections across its halls and courtyards. Though merely servants, they could reliably deliver messages. In my previous life, driven to desperation, I exposed Su Jinyun's fake death and adultery in a secret letter to the imperial consort. Alas, by the time guards stormed in, I had already been poisoned. This time, I must swiftly present my case before the imperial consort and earn her complete trust. Not only must I escape the empress's flawlessly orchestrated fake death scheme, but I must also seize the opportunity to earn merit by exposing Su Jinyun. At noon on the third day, the carrier pigeon returned bearing a message. Her Imperial Highness the consort commands your presence. I took the secret letter and stepped out. No sooner had I settled into the carriage than a blade pressed against my throat. Where are you headed, young lady? The man was none other than Lin Yuanzhou, the guard who had scaled the wall that night to bring Su Jinyun to seek refuge in my household. Lin Yuanzhou had risen from a lowly guard to become a fourth-rank imperial guard captain, all thanks to the then-favored empress's patronage. It was also he who, exploiting his position, orchestrated the empress's fake death from within. He was the most loyal dog by Su Jinyun's side. Guard Lin's blade pressed against my carotid artery as he leaned close to my ear and said coldly, Her Majesty the Empress wept as she complained to me yesterday, saying you struck her. How dare you, a mere servant, lay a hand on your master? Lin Yuanzhou's appearance didn't surprise me. Having struck the dog's master, I was prepared for the dog to bite back. I remained perfectly composed. I did strike Her Majesty, but that slap was meant to snap her back to her senses. Her momentary pique has dragged us servants into this mess, where we risk our lives daily for her whims. Take you, Guard Lin, aren't you now living in constant fear, dreading the day the truth comes out? Lin Yuanzhou faltered, struck by my words. When Her Majesty first proposed faking her death to leave the palace, didn't you find it absurd? Had I remained by her side, I would have urged her to reconsider. After all, feigning death is easy, but returning to the palace with legitimate claim is harder than climbing to the heavens. Leaving the palace is simple enough. But what if Her Majesty, remembering the Emperor's past affection, wishes to return? When you indulged her whims, did you ever consider her retreat? During my years serving by Su Jinyun's side, I genuinely plotted for her benefit. These words were truly harsh but well-intentioned advice. The Emperor betrayed Her Majesty's deep affection. She languished in the palace, her heart utterly broken, which is why she faked her death to leave. Lin Yuanzhou's face radiated the same love and cherishing for flowers as Qin Feng. If the Emperor doesn't know how to treasure her goodness, he doesn't deserve her. I'm different. Though my status is lowly, I'm willing to risk everything to play with her, to be wild with her. What about your parents and your entire clan? As long as I can see the smile on Her Majesty's face, everything is worth it. My family wouldn't blame me either. They'd only feel honored. To die for Her Majesty's freedom is their privilege. Since Guard Lin is willing to sacrifice everything for Her Majesty, why not abandon your fourth-rank official status now and elope with Her Majesty to the ends of the earth? Lin Yuanzhou's face suddenly stiffened as he uttered these bold words. I know he cherished fame and fortune above even his closest kin or deepest love. In my past life, after Su Jinyun faked her death, Lin Yuanzhou publicly severed all ties with the Su family. He was even promoted for saving the emperor and married Zhu Qingyan, the daughter of Minister Zhu. Alas! On the very second day after Miss Zhu entered the Lin household, the charade of her death was exposed. As she was already Lin Yuanzhou's lawful wife, she too fell under the purge of the Lin clan's 9 families. Still clad in her wedding red, Miss Zhu was pushed onto the executioner's block, her face etched with utter despair. She could never comprehend why marrying a man had cost her her life in the prime of youth. Through her tears, she looked at Lin Yuanzhou, seeking an explanation. Yet Lin Yuanzhou showed her no remorse. His gaze fixed on the direction of the imperial palace. He spoke with the resolve of one facing death. Your Majesty the Empress. Today, Yuanzhou dies for you, a death by love. This lifetime, I saw through Lin Yuanzhou's true selfishness and false affection at a glance. Naturally, I could manipulate him with every word. If our affair were exposed, could Lord Lin possibly retain his fourth-rank commandant position? Lin Yuanzhou's blade slid away from my throat, my words had swayed him. Indeed, only personal stakes could shake a selfish, hypocritical man. He interrogated me, you were heading into the city by carriage? For what purpose? My home lies in a small town at the foot of the imperial city. The Empress wants to wear Suzhou embroidered silk, such fine goods are only found in the city. Besides, my cosmetics shop is also in the city. Lin Yuanzhou suddenly grabbed my right hand, rolled up my sleeve, and searched inside. Seeing only a pouch of silver, he finally released me. I put on a tough front while softening inside. This is 10 taels I saved by selling perfume powder for a month. She wants fine clothes, so naturally I must buy them for her. Would I really let Her Majesty wear coarse cloth? You're thoughtful. He warned me. Shinxinlan, you too have received Her Majesty's kindness. Remember this. Once a servant, always a servant. If you dare betray your master and forget this favor, don't blame me for showing no mercy. What utter bullshit. I smiled and nodded. Thank you for your warning, Guard Lin. Lin Yuanzhou stepped down from the carriage. It stopped right at my doorstep. I lifted the curtain and watched him walk inside. Su Jinyan gazed at Lin Yuanzhou with sparkling eyes, but her look toward me was sharp, the smugness of someone flaunting a man's support. In my past life, the only reason I repeatedly tolerated Su Jinyan was because I feared Lin Yuanzhou. Though he was merely a fourth-rank imperial guard, he had more than enough power to eliminate a commoner like me. Just like earlier in the carriage, even if he had slit my throat, no one would have dared seek justice for me. To eliminate Su Jinyan, Lin Yuanzhou must die. I gazed toward the palace. To kill Lin Yuanzhou, I could only wield the Empress Dowager's blade. At noon, at the corner gate of the palace's western entrance, I handed the secret letter to eunuch Zhang, who had come to meet me. After examining the handwriting, eunuch Zhang said to me, "Please proceed." I stepped back into the palace, passing by the Phoenix Grace Palace. I saw white silk draped outside, with palace attendants inside and out dressed in white. You used to serve in the Phoenix Grace Palace, didn't you? Eunuch Zhang struck up a conversation. I answered honestly, yes, I left the palace just before the new year. Your timing was rather fortunate. Had you remained by her side, you would surely have suffered. The her he referred to was none other than the disgraced Empress Su Jinyan. He suddenly halted at the palace gates, his smile unnatural as he fixed me with a piercing gaze. His voice grew hushed. Your former mistress has passed. Shall we enter and pay our respects? Though the Empress had died, only Fani Palace flew white silk. No other palace quarters showed any sign of mourning. Just as in my past life, the Emperor, weary of the Empress, had dispensed with even the formalities of state mourning. To this day, the Empress's death remained unannounced to the outside world. I replied respectfully, I am no longer part of the Phoenix Grace Palace. As for mistresses, the only mistress in the harem now is the noble consort. The smile in eunuch Zhang's eyes deepened. You know your place. Come. The noble consort has been waiting for you for quite some time. He turned and led the way, and I followed closely behind. After winding through 3 palace corridors, the imposing eaves of the imperial bedchamber, Jinda Hall, came into view. The closest palace to Jinda Hall was Yuhua Palace. That was the consort's bedchamber. I was ushered into the warm chamber. Amidst the room's sandalwood incense, the imperial consort reclined on a beauty couch, draped in a crimson silk gown. Her pregnant belly was already quite noticeable beneath the rich fabric. One hand rested on her belly, the other massaging her left temple. Her eyes were closed, her complexion somewhat haggard, and her voice carried weariness. "In your letter, you said you could ease this palace's worries?" I immediately replied, "The servant knows the source of your majesty's sorrow." "Did Empress Su leave a final letter before her death?" The consort's hand paused. She opened her eyes and looked at me. I knelt respectfully and bowed again. "Empress Su died of illness. But her final letter blamed her death upon your majesty. It claimed your majesty persecuted her, causing her to die prematurely from physical weakness and terror." "How dare you!" Eunuch Zhang rebuked me for my indiscretion. But the noble consort stopped him. She sat up slightly straighter. "I remember you. You are Lan'er. The day I entered Fengyi Palace, the Empress deliberately arranged for me to meet Zhou Yuzhao. Before all the palace consorts, she declared we were colleagues at the laundry bureau. Then feigned ignorance. My maid used to scrub chamber pots." "Consort Zhou, what duties did you oversee at the laundry bureau?" At that time, Zhou Yuzhao held only the rank of consort. The Empress deliberately humiliated her in public, while anyone else would have been too ashamed to speak. Zhou Yuzhao answered with neither humility nor arrogance. "Scrubbing chamber pots. I've even scrubbed Her Majesty the Empress's chamber pot. It truly stinks like no other." With that single sentence, she turned the tables. The other consorts nearly burst out laughing, but fearing improper conduct, they hastily covered their noses with handkerchiefs, though it looked as if they truly smelled something foul. Su Jinyun's face turned green with rage. She ordered me angrily to gag Zhou Yuzhao. I was but a lowly servant, bound to obey. I knew the Empress was in the wrong, but hesitated to strike. Zhou Yuzhao, kneeling, sensed my dilemma and whispered, "Strike him. You'll have no way to report back otherwise." Fortunately, the Emperor arrived just in time to rescue Zhou Yuzhao. I suspect the imperial consort remembered me because of this incident. But why did she call me Lan'er instead of Goer? I had no time to ponder this further, for the memory was far from pleasant. Fearing the imperial consort's patience might wear thin, I quickly interjected. "A woman's body is naturally frail and prone to worry during pregnancy. Though your highness possesses a broad-minded spirit, the existence of that suicide note inevitably brought you much gossip throughout the palace. Surely, it must have been a thorn in the emperor's side as well. After all, Su Jinyun and the emperor had been young spouses. Though she had exhausted his love, now that she was dead, he inevitably cherished those faint remnants of old affection. Moreover, rumors now swirl throughout the palace that the imperial consort orchestrated the empress's demise. Su Jinyun's staged death, including that suicide note, was designed to strike at the heart, to wound the emperor's affection, yet ultimately sever the imperial consort's favor. The weariness etched upon the imperial consort's face speaks volumes. Though she retains the emperor's undiminished favor, Su Jinyun's deception has undeniably wounded her. This servant has a word that could break the consort's current predicament. Speak. This word must be heard only by Her Imperial Highness the consort. The consort permitted me to approach. As I drew near, I first caught the delicate fragrance of magnolia. Stealing my resolve, I whispered into her ear. Su Jinyun faked her death. The noble consort sprang to her feet. Shock gave way to sudden clarity across her beautiful face, her weariness vanishing in an instant. I revealed everything about Su Jinyun's current situation and the 2 men by her side. In my past life, my secret letter had been hastily written and represented only one perspective. The noble consort's cautious verification was understandable. Now, standing before her in person, pledging my loyalty, exposing the truth with my own voice, and guaranteeing this matter with my life, the imperial consort finally believed me. Her first reaction was laughter born of anger, that good-for-nothing Su Jinyun. To resort to such a foolish scheme. Ridiculous. I nearly fell for it. Attendants! Prepare the carriage for Xingda Hall. I shall personally inform His Majesty. She was about to report it to His Majesty immediately. But I hurriedly intervened. If your Highness informs the Emperor now, he will likely recall his old affection and merely have the culprits brought back to the palace to execute those two outsiders. But if your Highness is willing to wait, this servant has a plan. I will ensure that the so-called former Empress dies in utter disgrace. Her name tarnished for all eternity. I only ask for your Highness's support. The imperial consort raised an eyebrow. Supporting her swollen belly, she slowly sat back down on the beauty couch. She ordered someone to bring me sweets and tea, then dismissed everyone else. She grabbed a handful of melon seeds herself and handed me a slice of watermelon. Lanner, tell me everything. I entered the palace at noon, and by the time I finished my detailed account, evening was approaching. As I departed the imperial consort's chambers, I made one request. Your Highness, please bestow upon the servant 2 bolts of Suzhou embroidered silk. That woman mentioned she intends to wear it. The imperial consort snorted derisively. With an elegant gesture, her attendant fetched 2 bolts of richly patterned Suzhou embroidered silk. I accepted them with gratitude. This humble servant deeply thanks your Highness for your kindness. Having fulfilled all proper etiquette, I rose to take my leave when Zhou Yuzhao suddenly called out, Xinlan. I stopped and turned back. You have left the palace and regained your freedom. You are no longer a servant. Escaping servitude was no easy feat. Do not belittle yourself. The imperial consort smiled gently, even in my presence. You need not refer to yourself as a servant. I froze. Servant. Xinlan. Thank you. Imperial consort. By the time I returned home, evening had fallen. The moment I entered, Qin Feng rushed over to scold me. What took you so long? The Empress and Guard Lin are starving. Did you serve the Empress this lazily back in the palace? I glanced into the hall. Lin Yuanzhou's sword lay on the dining table. Su Jinyun sat opposite him, chin propped up, watching me with leisurely composure. So Lin Yuanzhou had been at my home all day. No doubt Su Jinyun had spent this long afternoon filing yet another complaint. Lin Yuanzhou appeared amiable, yet his hand kept tapping his sword with deliberate carelessness. That blade seemed placed on the table, but in truth, it hung over my head. I stepped forward with restrained patience, presenting the 2 bolts of Suzhou embroidered silk before Su Jinyun. The Suzhou embroidery you requested, I've procured it for you. Su Jinyun's lips curled up. There are distinctions of rank. How dare you speak to this palace lady as you and I? Boldly backed by Lin Yuanzhou. She was utterly fearless. I presented the Su embroidered silk with both hands. Changing my tone, this servant has found Su embroidered silk for your Highness. Please examine it. Only then did Su Jinyun seem satisfied. She took the embroidery, ran her fingers over it carefully, and examined it, though a hint of disdain lingered. I explained, this is the finest Suzhou embroidered satin available within the imperial city. Anything better would be palace satin reserved for imperial merchants' tributes. Your servant truly cannot procure more. I beg your Highness to make do with this. Even as Empress, Su Jinyun had indulged in extravagance. Her hands seemed to yearn for 2 extra fingers just to wear her beloved jeweled gloves. And she changed her attire every other day. Though not the finest silk. If your Majesty favors it, I can procure new designs for you every 10 days. Hearing this, Su Jinyun reluctantly accepted. She rose, draped the Su brocade over her shoulders, and spun around. Yuan Zhou, do you find me beautiful? I shall use this to make a new gown. With the leftover fabric, I'll craft a fragrant pouch for you, would that please you? The Su embroidery shimmered in the moonlight, captivating both Lin Yuanzhou and Qin Feng. Only I regarded it coldly. The imperial consort was meticulous. These two bowls of Suzhou embroidery weren't exclusive palace craftsmanship. Embroidery of this caliber, in the imperial consort's domain, was used to reward servants. As Su Jinyun draped herself in the Suzhou embroidery, convinced she radiated charm, she had no idea that in the imperial consort's eyes, she was nothing more than a rewarded servant. The 2 pieces of Suzhou embroidery bought me temporary safety. After weaving around wearily in her embroidered cloak, Su Jinyun sat down, sipped her tea, and then ordered me, "Hurry and prepare dinner. I desire abalone and chicken wing soup. Also make some appetizers for Guard Lin to accompany his wine." Seeing I hadn't moved immediately, Qin Feng gave me a shove and urged, "Go on. Don't leave the Empress and Guard Lin hungry." I turned and entered the kitchen to light the fire and prepare the meal. In the main hall, Qin Feng fawned over Lin Yuanzhou, while Su Jinyun's clear laughter, amused by the 2 men, drifted over intermittently. An hour later, I served 4 dishes and a soup to the table. They ate heartily while I stood by, like a servant in the palace, holding chopsticks to assist Su Jinyun with her meal. Once they were full, I cleared the table and carried the soiled dishes to the kitchen for washing. Su Jinyun kept barking orders at me, still using that despicable name. "Goer! I'm worried your family's dishes aren't clean enough, wash them at least 3 times. After washing them, take my clothes to be washed too. Don't forget to boil hot water for me, add rose petals. I shall bathe and perfume myself tonight." While I bustled about frantically, Su Jinyun strolled leisurely into the small courtyard I'd meticulously tended. She plopped down on the swing I'd strung for myself, Lin Yuanzhou eagerly pushing her back and forth, while Qin Feng watched with a smile. 30-year-old Su Jinyun swung innocently, musing to the 2 men, "I've long grown weary of the palace's splendor and wealth. This contented peasant life, this pastoral idyll, that is the true peace and stability I crave." Lin Yuanzhou replied, "Your Majesty is as serene as a chrysanthemum, untouched by worldly strife. It is that imperial palace that is unworthy of you." I smashed a bowl in disgust, and the 3 of them glanced toward the kitchen. Su Jinyun pouted. "Does Goer harbor resentment toward me?" Qin Feng immediately interjected. "To serve Her Majesty for a lifetime is her blessing. How could she possibly feel resentment?" Su Jinyun lived very comfortably in my home. Each morning, I would first attend to her ablutions and dressing before heading to the cosmetics shop to manage my business. After finishing my work, I'd rush back to wash her clothes and cook her meals. I managed her food and drink, even her bodily functions. "Goer, empty this palace's golden liquid." That morning, she stretched lazily and ordered me about. The golden liquid she referred to was her chamber pot. When I served her in the palace before, emptying her chamber pot had always been my duty. For a long time, to vent her resentment toward the imperial consort, she made me responsible for emptying all chamber pots in the Phoenix Grace Palace, saying I was born for this work and mustn't forget my roots. Only after I went deaf in one ear did she finally spare me. Did you hear me? If I find the golden liquid still here later, you know what your fate will be. I paid her no mind, rushing out to enter the city. According to my calculations from my past life, today was the day Lin Yuanzhou would earn his merit for saving the emperor. The emperor was hosting the 100 Flowers banquet in the palace, inviting young nobles and daughters of prominent families to admire the blossoms. The assassin would be hidden among the guests. My alliance with the imperial consort had one key purpose: to gain discreet entry into the palace for this crucial banquet. Then, to steal Lin Yuanzhou's credit for saving the emperor. The banquet was held in the imperial garden. Disguised as a palace maid, I stood beside the imperial consort. Midway through the festivities, the emperor, fresh from morning court, appeared. He immediately took the consort's hand, inquiring after the child within her womb. I knew the assassin was lurking. That shadowy eunuch stood out like a sore thumb, already reaching into his sleeve to draw a hidden weapon. Lin Yuanzhou was patrolling the outer perimeter of the imperial garden. Had the assassination attempt unfolded according to the timeline of my past life, Lin Yuanzhou's martial prowess would have undoubtedly secured him the credit for saving the emperor. I had no choice but to take a gamble. "Assassin!" I suddenly shouted. The eunuch, believing himself exposed, struck prematurely. He drew the hidden crossbow from his sleeve, launching a short arrow straight toward the emperor's brow. "Your Majesty, beware!" I was the first to rush forward, shoving the emperor aside. His head shifted just an inch, and the sharp arrow ultimately only grazed his left ear. The assassin immediately fired 2 more arrows. I shielded the emperor with my body, my arm taking one of the arrows for him. The imperial guards reacted swiftly, subduing the assassin on the spot. When Lin Yuanzhou burst in with his men, the first person he saw was me. "Xinxinlan? What are you doing in the palace?" With the imperial consort covering for me, Lin Yuanzhou never noticed my frequent visits to the palace during this period. At that moment, the captured assassin suddenly shouted, "Kill the tyrant! Replace him with the blue sky! Long live the blue sky sect!" He then bit his tongue to commit suicide. The imperial guards immediately realized, "Your Majesty, this is a follower of the blue sky sect." The clear sky sect was a heretical cult founded by remnants of the rebel Qing prince, vowing to kill the sovereign to avenge him. The emperor had always regarded the clear sky sect as a grave threat, executing them on sight. "Your Majesty, Guard Lin is also a follower of the clear sky sect." I clutched my wound and shouted the accusation. Lin Yuanzhou gasped, "What nonsense are you spouting? Your Majesty, if you doubt me, Lin Yuanzhou must bear the Qingtian sect's azure cloud mark." I was the first to spot the assassin and just sacrificed myself to save the emperor's life. My accusation now would be taken seriously by anyone. The emperor indeed ordered Lin Yuanzhou to be searched. Lin Yuanzhou was bound hand and foot with iron chains, kneeling before all eyes. As he was searched, he glared at me, recognizing I was from the imperial consort's palace. He was certain my intentions were impure, that I sought glory by betraying my master. He was probably already plotting how to kill me once we left the palace. Too bad, today, I won't let him leave this palace alive. Lin Yuanzhou prided himself on his integrity, until the imperial guards discovered a Suzhou embroidered sachet hidden against his chest. His expression changed abruptly. Guilt creeping in, this sachet was sewn by Su Jinyun using Suzhou embroidered silk I had given her. He treasured it like a precious jewel, keeping it close to his skin. Yet he maintained his composure. After all, Su Jinyun was the late empress. Even if the stitches seemed familiar, no one would suspect an illicit affair. But who said I intended to frame him for treason? The imperial guards immediately noticed the pouch's peculiarity. "Your Majesty, the embroidery on this pouch is indeed the azure cloud pattern. It's the emblem of the azure heaven sect." The imperial consort covered her mouth in shock. Then Lin Yuanzhou must be a Qingtian sect collaborator. He's infiltrated the imperial guard, plotting to assassinate His Majesty. Lin Yuanzhou snatched the sachets. Within the Suzhou embroidery patterns, several green cloud motifs were indeed concealed. His pupils instantly contracted. The Suzhou embroidery fabric was mine. And that fool Su Jinyun? She wouldn't recognize the azure sky sect's azure cloud pattern in a million years. All she knew was that every piece of Suzhou embroidery I gave her was made from full pattern silk. Those intricate, Elaborate designs were more than enough to feed her vanity. From the moment she mentioned making a sachets for Lin Yuanzhou, I had the imperial consort prepare roll after roll of this Qingyun pattern silk for me. Cloud patterns are common in Suzhou embroidery, but being exposed in this manner could lead to a conviction. Realizing the gravity of the situation, Lin Yuanzhou loudly defended himself, listing his loyal service. The imperial consort asked me, "You were the first to spot the assassin. Did you see Lin Yuanzhou attempt to strike the emperor just now?" The emperor's gaze also turned to me. I immediately nodded, "Your Majesty." "Your Highness." I personally witnessed Lin Yuanzhou drawing his blade against the emperor. Only after the assassin was captured did he sheath his sword and resume his disguise as a guard. Who knows when he might threaten your Majesty again? "You're lying. Xin Xinlan. How dare you frame me like this?" He glared at me viciously, yet dared not mention the events outside the palace. After all, abducting the empress with a fake death sentence carried the punishment of exterminating 9 clans. Today, Lin Yuanzhou faced either treason or conspiracy. Either way, his path led to death. "Your Majesty, this humble servant remains utterly loyal to you, with no hidden agenda." "Your Majesty, you cannot believe her word alone. With so many witnesses present, if I truly drew my blade against you, how could she be the only one to see it? Could all these eyes not find a second witness? I witnessed it too. From the flower beds." A young lady in crimson spoke softly, yet her words sent shockwaves. "Your Majesty, this humble maiden also saw it. Guard Lin drew his blade upon your Majesty." I froze in astonishment. She was Zhu Qinyan, daughter of Minister Zhu. Zhu Qinyan possessed an ethereal beauty, her crimson gown making her all the more striking. Even the emperor couldn't help but glance at her twice. Lin Yuanzhou stood frozen in place. "Miss Zhu, I bear you no grudge. Why would you?" "Indeed, I have no quarrel with you, Guard Lin. That is precisely why my testimony is the most impartial." Miss Zhu gazed at Lin Yuanzhou with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Guard Lin, how dare you join the Qingyun sect, attempt to assassinate the emperor, and plot rebellion?" The Empress Dowager and I exchanged a glance, thinking, how dare this Miss Zhu steal the words I had prepared. "Your Majesty, this servant is innocent." Before Lin Yuanzhou could protest further, the emperor had lost patience. "Enough. Take Lin Yuanzhou to the Ministry of Justice and torture him severely. Make him reveal the hiding places of the other Qingyun sect rebels." The emperor had sealed his fate with the charge of treason. But that wasn't enough. Supporting my injured arm, I walked before Lin Yuanzhou, feigning regret. "Guard Lin, how foolish you've been." I lowered my voice, taunting him softly. "With you dead, Su Jinyun will be mine to control. You worthless dog. You should have died long ago." Lin Yuanzhou was indeed enraged by my words. He finally realized that everything today, no. From the moment the Su embroidered silk was placed before him, my hunt for him had begun. "Xin Xinlan, you vile woman!" Lin Yuanzhou roared. "Guard Lin, what are you doing? He has hidden weapons." Miss Zhu and I shouted simultaneously. The Imperial Guards, misled, believed Lin Yuanzhou intended to assassinate the emperor with hidden blades. Several swords flashed with lightning speed, piercing Lin Yuanzhou's body the moment the words left our lips. Lin Yuanzhou's eyes bulged wildly as he vomited a pool of blood, collapsing with a thud and convulsing like a fish gutted yet still thrashing. The emperor covered the imperial consort's eyes, fearing she might be startled. She complied, adopting a feigned look of fragility. Lin Yuanzhou's blood flowed to my feet. I exhaled deeply in relief. The blade that had hung over my head had finally pierced Lin Yuanzhou himself. Lifting my gaze with a sense of release, I saw Miss Zhu. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her hand beneath her sleeve clenched into a fist, trembling slightly, yet a distinct curve played at the corners of her mouth. The satisfaction of vengeance fulfilled. When she looked up at me, she offered a gentle smile, as if praising my excellent cooperation. A suspicion welled up in my heart, but I dared not believe it, so I returned her smile. Regardless, the tragedy of Miss Chu's past life would not repeat itself in this one. Oh right, Lin Yuanzhou was dead. Su Jinyan was now firmly in my grasp. By the time I returned home, it was very late. The moment I entered, Su Jinyan was seated at the dining table, pointing at the chamber pot outside her room and accusing me. Didn't you hear me tell you to empty the chamber pot this morning? Qin Feng chimed in. You're utterly disrespectful. How dare you delay the Empress's orders? I stepped forward, grabbed the chamber pot with my uninjured hand, and as Su Jinyan expected me to comply, I carried it to the dining table. Lifting the lid, I poured the golden liquid inside over Su Jinyan's head. As her meal, she screamed in horror. When Qin Feng tried to stop me, I swung the chamber pot and flung its contents right in his face. You'll get your fill soon enough. No need to rush. Then I tossed the chamber pot aside, clutched my nose, and retreated 10 meters. The imperial consort was right. Her chamber pot truly stank like no other. The stench clinging to Su Jinyan wouldn't wash off even after 2 days of scrubbing. She raved about having Lin Yuanzhou kill me, but Lin Yuanzhou never appeared again after that night. Su Jinyan couldn't find him, nor did she notice anything amiss, for her attention was soon drawn elsewhere. A month after her fake death, the palace finally issued an imperial edict announcing the death of Empress Su. The decree stated she had succumbed to illness. When the imperial edict was first proclaimed, Su Jinyan wore a satisfied smile. Did you hear that? The emperor said in the decree that he deeply mourns, he grieves over this palace lady's death. He must regret it. Humph. This empress feigned death precisely to punish this heartless emperor. Though he rules over the empire, he has lost his beloved wife. The imperial consort must be suffering now. While I was alive, I couldn't outmaneuver that vile woman. But in death, I can frame her for everything. My so-called suicide note was nothing but an indictment of Zhou Yuzhao. Once His Majesty reads it, he will surely despise the imperial consort. When the imperial decree of national mourning is issued, all the people of Great Jin will mourn for me. That wretch Zhou Yuzhao, even if she is pregnant, must kneel before my spirit tablet and repent. If heaven has eyes, may she kneel until the child in her womb is lost. Even if the child is born, it will be during the mourning period. The emperor, grieving for me, will never hold a full-month celebration for her child. Zhou Yuzhao and her offspring will forever live in my shadow. Thinking of this brings me such satisfaction. Just like in her previous life, she schemed greedily and triumphantly. She remains utterly unaware that her death was already secretly settled by the emperor. Less than a month after her demise, the palace still hosts the 100 Flowers banquet. That imperial edict merely informed the subjects Empress Su is dead, and I may now consider appointing a new empress. The Great Jin imperial court's rituals dictate that the national mourning period is proclaimed by the emperor's edict. Typically, an imperial edict would follow shortly after announcing the death of a noble, instructing subjects whether to observe mourning. If no edict arrived within 3 days, subjects were deemed exempt from mourning. Su Jinyan was certain her death was announced so late because the emperor grieved for her. She was convinced she would receive a grand state funeral, so she waited eagerly each day for the second imperial edict. On the first day, she basked in the satisfaction of her flawless fake death scheme. On the second day, she smugly speculated that the imperial consort was being punished by kneeling and scolded in the palace. On the third day, with still no movement from the palace, she suspected the news was delayed in her small town. On the fourth day, unable to wait any longer, she donned a veil and secretly entered the city. Upon entering the imperial city, she saw the streets bustling with ordinary life, lively and vibrant. One household was joyfully celebrating a daughter's wedding, radiant with festive cheer. Firecrackers crackled merrily, and guests cheered enthusiastically. Su Jinyan rushed forward. How dare you? How dare you? The empress has just passed away in the palace, and you dare to hold such a grand celebration. The host family and guests looked utterly bewildered. The emperor never decreed mourning for us. That Empress Su wasn't exactly a virtuous queen. She's dead and gone. The emperor knows exactly what she was like. A few polite words in an imperial edict were meant to save the Su family's face. What right do you have demanding a national mourning? How many starving refugees in the northwest did the Su family embezzle away? That Empress Su was a demon queen who asked, "Why don't the starving eat meat porridge?" She even claimed her father had only embezzled a few thousand taels of gold. Did those starving refugees really die because they lacked those few thousand taels? Such people deserve to die. If I were Empress Su, even if I hadn't fallen ill, I'd find a rope and hang myself. How could I have the face to live in this world? Su Jinyan's face was hidden beneath her hooded cape, her shoulders trembling with shame and indignation. The guests hadn't wronged her. The reason Su Jinyan had fallen completely out of favor back then was precisely because the Su family had embezzled disaster relief grain to line his own pockets. Su's father had not only stolen 5,000 taels of gold meant for relief, but to cover his tracks. He had also ordered poison to be slipped into the disaster victims' well water. He then falsely reported an epidemic to the court, using it to conceal the truth that the victims had starved to death. Eventually, the truth came out, sparking widespread outrage. When the Su family was imprisoned by the emperor, Su Jinyun knelt before him, defending her father with feigned righteousness. "Your Majesty, I refuse to believe that a few thousand taels of gold could starve so many disaster victims. My father is innocent." The emperor flew into a rage. The usually benevolent sovereign kicked Su Jinyun in the face before the court, roaring, "If you don't believe it, then die. Go to the underworld and join those starving victims in their grave." Driven by this insult, Su Jinyan orchestrated her own fake death. She wasn't foolish, she knew escaping the palace under false pretenses was extremely dangerous. But at that moment, the emperor had already ordered the execution of the entire Su family, and her demotion as empress was imminent. By faking her death, Su Jinyan sought to preserve the last shred of dignity and honor she possessed. She believed the emperor would surely blame himself for driving his most beloved woman to death with that single, rash remark. She believed her death would inevitably trigger a grand national mourning that would force the imperial consort to kneel. She believed all the people of Great Jin would grieve the loss of a virtuous empress with integrity. All of this was merely what she believed. No one lamented her death, people were practically clapping in delight. After returning that day, she sank into gloom. Lamenting with feigned melancholy, "The emperor has truly broken my heart, all men in this world are cold-hearted and faithless." She spoke these words looking half-dead, yet the moment Qin Feng entered the room, she came alive, her face lighting up with joy. Just like in their past lives, their eyes met and they recognized each other, but this time I did not stand in their way. Lin Yuanzhou was dead. I was no longer bound by any constraints. That night when the chamber pot was overturned over Su Jinyan's head, Qin Feng had a fierce argument with me over her. I flung a divorce decree at him, repudiating him on the spot. Then I packed up all my belongings and moved back to the cosmetics shop in town. In the end, it was Qin Feng alone who cleaned up that house, a mess of spilled gold liquid and the stench of chamber pots. Su Jinyan just sat there crying, demanding to go complain to Lin Yuanzhou. At first, Qin Feng was quite tolerant of Su Jinyan. After all, the beauty he'd coveted for so long was suddenly his, and the novelty was still there, but soon he couldn't stand it. Su Jinyan was a noble woman who needed someone to bring water to her lips even for morning ablutions. In my past life, I endured these things while Qin Feng only handled the affair, naturally relishing it. Now he had to be not only Su Jinyan's lover but also her personal servant. Within a month, Qin Feng had grown utterly weary of her. He remembered me, brought that divorce letter to beg for reconciliation, hoping to coax me back to continue serving Su Jinyan while he reaped the benefits of having both women. My cosmetics shop was a two-story building, the ground floor for business, the upper floor my accounts room and bedroom. Except during busy seasons, I rarely stayed at the shop. My true home was the town, a carefully crafted little haven, a crisp, elegant bamboo cottage, a small courtyard bursting with flowers and plants, where I could swing on a swing at night and gaze at the stars. When I was nearly crushed by the hardships of being a slave in the palace, I dreamed of creating such a new home after leaving. Later, my dream came true. Yet this home was usurped by Su Jinyan in my past life, and now, in this life, he has ruined it. Qin Feng never knocked before entering the inner courtyard of my cosmetics shop. Unfortunately, he happened upon Zhang Gonggong speaking with me. The noble consort said revenge demands an eye for an eye. A tooth for a tooth. Now that the imperial edict has declared her the late empress, Su Jinyun is as good as dead. Lin Yuanzhou is finished too, you can do with them as you please. The one in power has little patience. The noble consort said it's time to close the net. Eunuch Zhong abruptly halted his words. His eyes fixed straight beyond the screen. I turned to see Qin Feng's terrified face. I smiled. They say the net must be drawn tight. But the fish has already walked into it. Lin Yuanzhou is dead? Dead. I killed him myself. I smiled as I approached Qin Feng. He tried to flee, but two sword-bearing guards swiftly blocked his path. Qin Feng grasped the truth, clutching my sleeve in desperation. Xinlan, we're husband and wife. We grew up together. You know we grew up together. That we were bound by marriage vows? After Su Jinyun arrived. Did you ever once stand by me? When she treated me like a maid? Did you remember me saying I never wanted to be anyone's servant again? Qin Feng fell silent. My hand brushed his cheek, sliding slowly down to his jaw. I intended to catch you two in the act. But that was how you died in your past life. This time, I'll have you tortured to death. One by one. I seized Qin Feng's throat. My laughter cold and sinister. Husband, your wife will see you off. Qin Feng vanished too. Once cherished and protected by two men, attended by a maid, Su Jinyun had relished this pastoral idyll. But now, both men were nowhere to be found, left without anyone to fawn over her or serve her. Her stubbornness finally gave way. She ventured into the city and found my cosmetics shop. Where have you hidden Qin Feng? Her face veiled, she demanded of me. Qin Feng said he came to claim the deed from you. Where is it? I laughed at her words. What are you talking about? The deed? Didn't you proudly divorce him? That means the townhouse belongs to Qin Feng and me. From now on, that's my home. Now without Lin Yuanzhou by her side and Qin Feng nowhere to be found, she dared not speak to me with her former boldness. My cosmetics shop was thriving. Downstairs, beauties from the imperial city and maidservants of noble families came and went, shopping for supplies. Su Jinyun sneered. All this makeup and powder, isn't it just to flirt with men? Why didn't you display such talent when serving me in the palace? I have a natural gift for blending cosmetics and fragrances, but I dared not show it while in Fini Palace. Because Su Jinyun would inevitably link my work with seducing the emperor, just as she does. Now, her jealousy is fierce. Had she discovered my skill, I doubt I'd have survived leaving the palace. I was busy with my abacus and paid no heed to her chatter. Ignored. Su Jinyun grew furious, yet she held no leverage now. Both men were missing, the Su clan long exterminated, and she herself was a dead, disgraced empress. Suddenly, she pressed her hand to her veil. If you don't hand over Qin Feng and the deed, I'll tear off this veil. Let everyone know I'm still alive. The emperor pities me. I might not die, but you will surely be executed along with your entire clan. My abacus fingers froze. I looked up at her, thinking she had intimidated me. Her tone turned arrogant again. What are you calculating? Let me tell you, every penny this cosmetics shop earns must be spent on this empress. Once a slave, always a servant. I am your master for life. And you are my servant forever. Even after leaving the palace, you must support me for the rest of your days. I was calculating the total expenses for Her Majesty's 2-month stay at my residence: silks, brocades, delicacies from land and sea, amounting to 60 taels of silver. 60 taels. When I left the palace years ago, by palace custom, Your Highness should have given me at least this much as a settlement to start anew. Yet you claim 60 taels are worthless. Today I'll show Your Highness what 60 taels can do in the mortal world. With a clap of my hand, a burly matron surrounded Su Jinyun with 2 enforcers. The matron roughly tore off Su Jinyun's veil, then pried open her jaw to inspect her teeth. She proceeded to examine Su Jinyun's body through her clothes. Well, worth 60 taels? The woman sneered with disdain. Her body's been defiled. She's past her prime, and her looks can't hold a candle to fresh young girls. 60 taels? That's too high. But for your sake, young lady, we'll stretch it to meet that price. Su Jinyun understood instantly. This woman was a slave trader. Xinlan, You've lost your mind. You want to sell me? Excellent. The Empress has finally remembered my name. Too bad it's too late. I clicked the abacus beads, Your Highness. Weren't you wondering what 60 taels could buy? You see, 60 taels can strip you of your noble status and sell you as the lowest caste slave. Su Jinyan stared at me in horror. She couldn't fathom that her once docile, loyal servant would dare to openly betray her like this. How dare you? How insolent! I am the Empress. The Empress? I tapped my deaf left ear and asked the slave dealer. Did I hear correctly? This woman claims to be the Empress? The old woman spread her hands. Looking around dramatically, the Empress died long ago. Where would there be an Empress now? Who has seen the Empress? Who recognizes the Empress? Who would believe it? My eyes darkened with menace as I murmured. Indeed. Her Majesty the Empress is long dead. Su Jinyan. You killed her with your own hands. Have you forgotten? Su Jinyan was terrified into tears. With rain-drenched cheeks, she wailed for help, first calling for the Emperor, then switching to Lin Yuanzhou, then Qin Feng. Her wailing grew louder as her strength waned. The maidservant handled such situations with practiced skill, directing the guards to swiftly bind her hands with hemp rope. Yuanzhou! Qin Feng! Come save me! Help me kill this madwoman! I yanked her hair, dragging her into the woodshed at the rear courtyard. Want to see Lin Yuanzhou and Qin Feng? Huh? They're waiting for you right inside. Tears streaked Su Jinyan's face. Yet she instantly broke into a smile. They're here. And you still dare treat me like this? I'll make them vent their anger on you right now, make them kill you. Go! This time, I absolutely won't let you off. She rushed to the door, her hand poised to push. But it swung open on its own. The moment it swung open, Su Jinyan met the gaze of Lin Yuanzhou and Qin Feng. Those two pairs of eyes were lifeless. And Su Jinyan's smile froze on her face. They were indeed Lin Yuanzhou and Qin Feng, but not quite whole, because they had no bodies. Staring closer, she saw they were two severed heads, their eyes wide open in death. A piercing, terrified scream suddenly pierced the daylight at the Orchid Fragrance Cosmetics shop. I sold Su Jinyan off to Yuanqing in the northwest. Every household in Yuanqing had someone who died because of the Su family's corruption. The slave trader mentioned her surname was Su, and families scrambled to buy her. Once bought, they locked her away in their inner courtyards to torture her. That old woman reported her whereabouts in Yuanqing to me every month. This month she was sold to the He family. The He's were once wealthy, famine never touched them. Their youngest daughter had been poisoned to death by well water back then. The lady of the He household harbored a deep hatred for the Su family. Su Jinyan was forced to do the dirtiest, most exhausting work there. Her name had long been changed to Chushi. The master declared, a lowly name makes her easier to keep alive. The northwest was a rugged frontier, far from the reach of the emperor. At first, she loudly proclaimed herself the Empress. But the people of Yuanqing hated Empress Su most of all. Eventually, she had 3 teeth knocked out. And only then did she learn to behave, daring no longer to put on airs. Now she must rise before dawn and labor until dusk serving her new master. This household deliberately torments her, withholding food to make her taste the bitterness of famine. She once tried to climb into bed as a concubine, only to be beaten bloody, her face disfigured. In the end, the master of that household did take her into his quarters, not as a concubine, but to empty chamber pots day after day. A year passed like this. In that year, Su Jinyan was sold to 5 different households in Yuan City. She had always despised being a servant. Yet now she went from house to house, serving as one. A year later, the old woman brought her back to the imperial city and presented her before me. She was no longer the plump, well-fed girl she had been in my household. Her skin had turned sallow and withered, her cheeks and eye sockets sunken. A scar from beatings marred her face. And on her neck, the character for slave had been branded with a hot iron by one household's master. That character was covered in knife marks. She had tried to scrape it off, but unable to bring herself to inflict such cruelty on herself. The mark only grew more grotesque and glaring. She wore the coarsest hemp garments, no longer daring to demand sujo embroidery or silk brocade from me. She dared not clamor for bird's nest or fish maw in her meals. Such is the life of a servant. Just 1 year is enough to shatter every shred of pride and self-respect. I endured such days for over a decade. During my years serving in the palace, I accepted my fate. But now, outside the palace, my former master comes to my home, enters my door, and treats me like a slave in my own house. Who could endure that? I hear you've been given a new name now, Chewer. The Chewin' Beast. This name is recorded in her slave registry. To change it, she'd have to pay silver to the authorities. Shinlan, you must help me change this name. I can't bear it. I truly can't bear it anymore. Her eyes brimmed with tears. If Lin Yuanzhou and Qin Feng were still alive, how heartbroken they'd be. I lifted her chin with a stick. Change what? This name's just fine. Her Majesty used to call people Piglet and Puppy. Now she's been bestowed the name Beast, another lowly name. Her Majesty said it herself, lowly names are easier to raise. Su Jinyun was speechless. She shook her head pitifully, clutching my hand in supplication, for the sake of our past bond as master and servant. Don't sell me to the Northwest. I'll die there. No one treats me like a human being. No one. Didn't your highness once declare with absolute certainty that the disaster victims in the Northwest wouldn't starve to death because of those few thousand taels of relief gold? When you sat upon the imperial throne, did you ever regard those starving people as human beings? The people of Yuanqing torment you to exact vengeance for their loved ones. Su Jinyun. This is the karma you and your Su family have wrought. This is the sin you must atone for. Knowing she was in the wrong, Su Jinyun knelt and begged me. Spare me. Help me escape slavery. I beg you. I beg you. I cannot free you from this bondage. Why? Because. I smiled as I told her, one's a slave, always bound to the master. This is what you, your highness, taught me. Su Jinyun collapsed to the ground as if the sky had fallen. I did not sell Su Jinyun to the Northwest. Instead, I kept her by my side as my servant. She has been tortured beyond recognition. Even if I took her out in public, no one in the imperial city would associate her with Empress Su. She has grown docile, no longer daring to proclaim herself empress. She treats me with utmost respect, truly behaving like a servant. But I know this is all a facade she puts on. She's like a venomous snake, biding her time, waiting to deliver a fatal blow. That day, I took her to the Zhu family to offer congratulations. Minister Zhu had been promoted for his service, and Miss Zhu was soon to enter the palace as a consort. Miss Zhu was renowned among the noble ladies of the capital for her gentle and kind nature. The moment Su Jinyun saw her, she knelt before her, weeping and claiming she had suffered greatly at my hands. She even gave me a vile nickname, Beast Child. The beast from beastly creature. Su Jinyun pointed at me, tearfully accusing me while slandering me at the same time. I watched her coldly. See, she knows these names are meant to humiliate. Miss Su, I hear you're a great benefactor. Please buy me. I'll serve you faithfully. My life with Shinshinlan is worse than death. Spare me this fate. She knelt before all the guests gathered to celebrate the Zhu family's promotion. Her tirade painted me as utterly despicable. Her tearful pleas elevated Miss Zhu to a position of moral superiority. Zhu Qingyan smiled and said, "Very well. I'll take you on as my personal maid." Su Jinyun was both shocked and overjoyed. She had calculated that Miss Zhu, destined for the palace, would value her reputation as a virtuous lady. By publicly kneeling and playing the victim, she was certain Miss Chu would at the very least buy her freedom. She hadn't expected Miss Chu to take her in so readily, which suited her perfectly. A personal maid could enter the palace alongside her. Once inside the palace, she could see the emperor. Su Jinyan glared at me viciously, a smirk of vengeful satisfaction curling her lips. She was certain that if the emperor learned of her years of suffering, he would pity her and see justice done. Zhu Qingyan was bestowed the title of consort by the emperor. As the daughter of a meritorious official, her investiture ceremony drew the emperor and the imperial consort in person, showering the Zhu family with honor and glory. Yet as the ceremony began, Su Jinyun, dressed as a palace maid, burst forth. Pushing Zhu Qingyan aside, she rushed before the emperor. "Your Majesty! It's Jinyun! It's me! Jinyun! I didn't die!" Imperial guards immediately surrounded her, but the emperor waved them back. Su Jinyun had dressed up specially to appear before the emperor today, yet her current appearance was beyond any makeup could salvage. Clutching the emperor's dragon robe, she wailed that she hadn't died back then. "Your servant was framed by the imperial consort. She poisoned me. When I awoke, I had been sold out of the palace. These past 2 years, I suffered greatly outside the palace. My sole wish was to return to your Majesty, but the imperial consort and that vile servant Shinlan conspired to frame me, even selling me into slavery. I risked my very life to return before your Majesty today. Your Majesty, you must vindicate me." Before the emperor could respond, the empress consort, resplendent in her finery, scoffed. "Zhou Yu Zhao, what are you laughing at?" Su Jinyun had begun to piece things together. She was merely a lowly palace maid. How could she dare to sell the former empress as a slave? Someone was backing her, and that person could only be her mortal enemy. The Jade Empress consort. Zhou Yu Zhao continued laughing, the tassels of her phoenix crown swaying wildly. Su Jinyun grew frantic with agitation. Already teetering on the edge of madness, she was driven to fury by the consort's open mockery. Her eyes blazed red as she lunged forward, intent on tackling the consort. But just as she gained momentum, the emperor kicked her off the jade platform. Su Jinyun rolled twice across the white marble floor, landing directly at Zhu Qingyan's feet. Zhu Qingyan shot her a look of contempt and pulled away the hem of her skirt that Su Jinyun had touched. Su Jinyun struggled to her feet, her eyes filled with sorrow as she looked at the emperor. "Your Majesty, we were married in our youth. When we were young, I once. Must you droning on about our youth again? Any marital affection I once felt for you has long been ground to dust by your actions. You claim to have suffered greatly outside the palace. Yet I hear whispers that upon leaving, you lived freely and merrily with Lin Yuanzhou and Qin Feng. When you cursed me as a heartless, faithless man in that small courtyard, where was this deep affection you show today?" Su Jinyun froze in place. How could the emperor be so familiar with her every move outside the palace? The imperial consort stepped forward, graciously informing her. "On the 5th day after your departure, Ex-mistress came to inform this consort of your feigned death. From that day onward, you were under surveillance by this consort's spies. The emperor knows every detail, how you flirted with Lin Yuanzhou, how you made love with Qin Feng in bed, how you plotted your fake death to deceive the emperor, and how you sought to frame this consort with that scheme. All lay laid bare before His Majesty's ears. Oh, and your sale into slavery in the Northwest? That too was sanctioned by His Majesty. Who else would dare sell a former Empress Dowager into servitude?" The consort's slender fingers clamped onto Su Jinyun's chin, her eyes narrowing in a sultry smile. "Su Jinyun, you fool! You couldn't outmaneuver me in life. And now you pretend to be dead. You're still my defeated foe." Su Jinyun was flung to the ground. She heard the emperor's cold voice. "When you died that day, I breathed a sigh of relief. Since you're dead, there's no need for you to come back and blind me. By imperial decree, Su Jinyun was demoted to lifelong slavery. Her name was stripped away, forever branded with the name Chuyuer. Though Su Jinyun lived, she was truly dead. Expelled from the palace, she walked the exit path where former servants mistreated by Fini Palace came to watch her go. Some spat at her, others mocked her viciously. At the path's end, Su Jinyun saw me. I held a bottle of poisoned wine in my hand. Eunuchs escorted Su Jinyun before me. She was bewildered. I faked my death. Why didn't the emperor hold you accountable? You were an accomplice. You should have been executed along with your entire clan. I smiled and produced a gleaming golden token. Not only am I innocent, but I've earned great merit. That day in the imperial garden, I risked my life to save His Majesty. I received this pardon token long ago. Oh, and Lin Yuanzhou died that same day. Want to know how? Your Suzhou embroidered pouch killed him. The blue cloud pattern on it made me insist he was a Qing Tian sect rebel. So they hacked him to death. You didn't know, did you? All those Suzhou embroideries I gave you? They were actually from the imperial consort. Her gifts to you were no different than rewards to a servant. Su Jinyun's face contorted in rage as she screamed. But I'm half deaf. I can choose not to hear her anguish. Knowing Lin Yuanzhou loved you, I had his head cut off just so you could see him one last time. How considerate of me. Su Jinyun trembled violently, staring at me as if I were a terrifying specter. She tried to flee, but I seized her chin. I pried open her jaws. Su Jinyun struggled in terror. But these hands of mine, having scrubbed countless chamber pots, possess immense strength. I yanked her hair, forcing her head back. Just as she poisoned me in a past life, this time I repay her 1,000-fold. Su Jinyun. Remember this. The one who kills you today is the lowly goer of yesteryear. The very slave you once scorned. That evening, a torrential rain fell. Su Jinyun, blood streaming from her 7 orifices, collapsed on the palace road. Her body lay drenched in rain for a full day and night before eunuchs hastily wrapped her in a straw mat and discarded her at the mass grave. Miss Ju and I became close friends. Having her bring Su Jinyun into the palace was part of my plan. On the day we joined forces to kill Lin Yuanzhou, Zhu Qingyan and I had a private conversation that confirmed she too came from a past life. That day at the 100 Flowers banquet, even if I hadn't acted, she would never have let Lin Yuanzhou leave alive to ruin her life again. When she decided to enter the palace as a consort, I was astonished. Miss Zhu said, in this life, I seek not love, but power. That crimson gown at the 100 Flowers banquet was deliberately worn for the emperor's eyes. I refused to repeat the past life's fate, dragged to the executioner's block by a man, powerless to resist. Only as a woman of the sovereign can one approach power's pinnacle. Trivial romances are laughable. Now I fight for self-preservation and my family's survival. Imperial authority is merely the necessary leverage to strengthen herself. Just as Zhou Yuzhao once risked her life to catch the emperor's eye, seeking only to use His Majesty to escape a life of servitude. The consort told me that day she remembered me, not because of that humiliation in the Phoenix Grace Palace. Back when I was targeted in the laundry bureau, kneeling under the scorching sun for punishment. You brought me a cup of water. For that small kindness, I am willing to repay you with a spring of gratitude. The Empress named you goer to humiliate you, and thereby humiliate me. But I will always remember your true name, Lawner. Lawn of fragrant orchid. I promised the noble consort I would make the emperor utterly loathe Su Jinyun. Su Jinyun's audience with the emperor shattered the malicious trap laid by that suicide note. The entire palace now knows Su Jinyun faked her death to consort with a man outside the palace. In his fury, the emperor decreed after her death that all her honors be stripped, erasing every trace of her from the annals of history. The once proud empress Su now stinks to high heaven in the people's oral history. This palace maid's clothes are unlucky. Go fetch me a fresh set at once. My pair of clever, Adorable dragon and phoenix twins had Zhou Yuxiao elevated to imperial noble consort, a rank equal to the empress. Zhu Qingyan and the imperial noble consort became close friends. They were kindred spirits. These two favored consorts became my strongest pillars of support. When I entered the palace, everyone addressed me as Miss Xinlan. I had a name and status. Outside the palace, everyone called me Boss Xin, praising my unparalleled skill in blending perfumes and creating cosmetics. No one ever made me refer to myself as a lowly servant or called me doggy again. I am no longer a slave. I am simply myself, walking freely, independently, and with dignity across this vast world. The end.